Hey, well, insight number 3. Remember, there's only 3 this week. I just felt that just a little insight from each book of scripture we've done this week would be plenty. Yeah, there's some good stuff in here, but I just felt these 3 points were the focus. Of course, as I always say, I do that prayerfully. What's going to be best for people out there and what's going to be more uplifting. So, Zephaniah, we're going to look at 3:17 to 20, but his whole message, again, is about the last days. All 3 of these books are about prophecy of the last days and to have that relationship with Christ. And again, it's a message we've heard before. Excuse me. But it's something that we need to look at a lot so that we can really get it stuck in our brains and to reassess those things. And, because we get lost in living everyday life, and now we're actually really focusing on these things that are important. So anyway, in chapter 1 he talks about, because Nahum was talking about the destruction of Nineveh as symbolic of the last days. And Zephaniah, he's talking about the destruction of Judah as symbolic of the destruction of the last days. So he uses a different symbolism, but same end result. But it's all about a call together, to be together, and the promise of God's presence and the promise of Christ amongst us, which is really awesome. Now, in the beginning of chapter 2, verses 1, 2, and 3 talk about gather yourselves together, and verse 3 is good. Seek ye the Lord, and all ye meek of the earth, which have wrought his judgments. Seek righteousness, seek meekness. It may be ye shall be hid in the day of the Lord's anger. And it's not that you're hiding from him. It's just, it's kind of a weird way to describe it. But, so I sort of pick it up because hiding's probably the wrong word in today's language. It's basically gather together so Christ can be in your midst, where 2 or 3 are gathered, I will be there with you. And gather to feel Jesus in your presence. Ask yourselves, how am I inviting him in? So hiding's probably the wrong word. More about not answering the door when the doorbell rings. That would make more sense, but that's not one word. So, when someone comes over and you know they're there, but you don't want to get up and you can see them through the little peepee hole, or maybe you've got I can see from my bedroom right through the lounge windows to who's at the front door. And if I don't want to get it, I'm not going to get it. Especially if I'm half dressed or just getting up and it's not important, it's a courier who's just going to leave a package or something. I'm not going to get up and open the door. That's fine. But that's the hiding part. So it's not that you're actually hiding from him or trying to run away from him. It's just that you're not answering the door or inviting him in. Makes more sense? Because it makes more sense to my mind and how it says there. So seek the Lord and invite him in rather than ignoring him or keeping the door shut to him. Invite him in. Open it, invite him in. So I bring that one up. But we're going to look at chapter 3. This is seeking the day of the second coming. All nations are going to battle together, and this is the whole gather to be together. So 17 through 20 says, the Lord thy God in the midst of thee is mighty. He will save thee. He will rejoice over thee with joy. He will rest in his love. He will joy over thee with singing. I will gather them that are sorrowful for the solemn assembly, who are of thee, to whom the reproach of it was a burden. Behold, at that time I will undo all that afflict thee, and I will save her that haleth, and gather her that was driven out, and I will get them praise and fame in every land where they have been put to shame. At that time will I bring you again, even in the time that I gather you, for I will make you a name and a praise among all people of the earth, when I turn back your captivity before your eyes, saith the Lord. So he's talking about reversing all the wrongs that have happened, to make good his promises, to make good all the unjust, to go about and take away the affliction that was put on us, to just make everything good and awesome again. So Zephaniah also prophesies of the Lord's second coming, but also promises the constancy of Christ's presence in our lives, right now. 19a, anything that halteth means anything that blocked you or didn't work as it was intended. So anything that's hindering you from trying to, from the life that you were supposed to have been able to lead, or someone that came in and caused you an injury that was not your fault, that's now made your life bad, or anything that's just been And we've all got something like that. So yeah, anything that has blocked you or didn't work as was intended, including your physical bodies, that's going to be remedied, fixed, done. Meaning Christ will make it all right. It will make all things right, restore everything. And we've heard that message, excuse me, we've heard that message a lot from our leaders about that Christ will come in and like remedy all the wrongs and make everything right again. I mean, we can't see how that's going to happen, and I've just got to trust that it is, because there's some pretty big wrongs being done to me in my life that I had no control over. But he's going to make it right. So, yeah, that's where that judgment comes in I was talking about in the first one. Those who know Christ know him for the loving, kind person that he is, that sticks up for you and makes everything right. And those that are offending you by their behaviour, he's saying to them, I'm not going to allow that to happen. Stop. And that's where they're going to feel that judgmental God. And we don't feel the judgmental God because we know of his grace and mercy. So it depends where you sit in there. So if you missed that one, go watch Insight number 1. It's a really good explanation of that. So the theme of Zephaniah is to gather, because we need to be gathered to be Zion, to be a Zion people of one heart and one mind. To be able to be effective together, we need to gather together. We were never meant to do this life alone. So how can you gather more today? Right? Are you going to gather more on the other side of the veil? Are you going to gather more here? Are you just going to reach out to your friends? Are you going to check up on that lady at church that nobody seems to talk to? Or are you going to what are you going to do? There's something you can do today to help gather and to feel his presence in your life today. Whether it's inviting some family over for dinner, whether it's Thanksgiving, I think, in America right now when I'm recording this, if I'm right. We don't do Thanksgiving in New Zealand, so I don't know. But a lot of posts online about thanks, and are you honest about that though? Do you really feel that in your heart? And if you really do, how are you gathering the people to say thank you? Because for a lot of people, they focus on the negativity or the toxic perfectionism that they can't ever reach, of trying to have that perfect day of thanks. It's well, have every day a day of thanks. Have every day be grateful and thankful and give thanks every day. When you see people, I've tried to do this over the last, I don't know, probably about 8 years now. Really tell people when I'm with them how grateful I am for them, for what they've done for me, what they've done for others, and how much I love them. Because what if something happened to me that day and I never got to tell them ever? So I try to tell people that all the time, that I do appreciate them, that I love them and I care about them. And it's doing that, and it just, you feel Christ in that moment as well with you, and then you just give thanks for that daily. So that's what I do. I gather every day. Whoever I'm around, I gather and I just let them know how wonderful they are and how much they mean to me, and just that I'm really thankful for what they do. Because who doesn't need that, to hear that in the midst of a day of demands and rude people and bad drivers and all that stuff? You just need one person to say, I think you're awesome and you're doing a great job, and you're like, awesome. It's right, it's that easy. It really is. So the quote I got from this one, I felt really fitted, but it's not a church leader. It's just C.S. Lewis, great author. A very good Christian man, and fantastic at just his insights and with his relationship with God. And they just, if you've read the Narnia books, you get it. Okay, anyway, he said, we may ignore, but we can nowhere evade the presence of God. The world is crowded with him. He walks everywhere incognito. I'm it kind of says it perfectly. We might not see him, and we might not hear his voice specifically to us, but we can feel his presence, and we can hear him with our spiritual ears in a way that just uplifts our soul and brings goodness into our lives. Just by looking at things like the wind and going, how wonderful that is. We can't see it, but it's can be really awesome. On a hot day and you get a cool breeze, it's fantastic. The way it clears away debris from nature, and yet it can cause destruction but don't need to rebuild, and it's just, the whole thing is just kind of beautiful, and there's so much you can look at. So you can ignore it, but you can nowhere evade the presence of God. There isn't. You can't. All the presence of Christ. You can ignore it, but you cannot evade it. It is there. He is there. You're just, again, like I said in the last one, you're not opening the door. He's not ignoring you. You're just not opening the door to him, to invite him in. There we go. All right. So, hope you've enjoyed this week. Oh, I've gone way over time, so hopefully that's all right. But thank you for joining me this week. I only had 3, but they were 3 really good ones, I thought. So, just have a great weekend. Stay safe. Apologise this one's a bit longer, but I just really love this message. So, yeah, hope you do too. And I'll see you next week. Bye, guys.